young brand new students, and it brought me back to the basics of introducing them to the elements of music. And so today I thought I'd share with some things that I use every time I have a new student in my studio. The first one, and I believe this is original. I mean, I actually thought it up myself, and if you've heard of it some other place, then maybe other great minds have thought of it too, but this is a game called Mr. Music, and it's a way that I teach note value. So it goes something like this. I have some note hard cards where I have the basic beginning notes, and these are the cards that Mr. Music gets to hold when he's in charge and when he's guiding this game. So usually when I first introduce the game, I'm Mr. Music and my student is the recipient of this. So here's a simple dialogue of what might be said if you are playing Mr. Music. So I would introduce the note values to them, explain their names, and then explain how many counts they might receive if you're holding them down in a song. And then I would tell them that we're going to play a game, and I'm going to be Mr. Music, and they're going to ask me for certain kind of notes. And depending on the note they ask me for, that will allow them to take certain steps towards me. And when they make it all the way across the room to me, then they can be Mr. Music. So the dialogue would be something like this. Mr. Music, my student would say, may I have a whole note? Now, whoever's Mr. Music has a choice here. He could say yes, and then that student could take 4 steps towards me. But the option is always there to say no. And if the Mr. Music says no, then he has to suggest an alternative note that they can have to make their way closer. So he might say, you may have a quarter note. And then they would only have 1 step towards me if they chose that note. So this is kind of a variation of Mother May I. Mother May I take so many steps towards you. And it works really well. First of all, they quickly get into the position of being Mr. Music and having to use the names of the notes, quarter note, whole note, dotted, half note, and half note. They have to use those, verbally use those names to play the game. And keep in mind, they have to keep in mind how many steps each of these notes allows towards them. They also love it because whoever they're playing with, they can kind of become, for a moment, the controlling party and tell this person just exactly what they can do. They always love to be the controlling party, especially in the first few weeks of piano lessons because, you know, they're in a vulnerable place. They don't know yet how they're going to possibly ever learn to play the piano. And to have a moment or two when they're in control is really